I've been enjoying this wonderful new dish that I just came up with. This is too easy for words. It is probably one of the easiest to make dishes that I've ever come up with. So take a look at this. It's a fun, easy meal to make. This is my pasta chicken bake, and I think it's one of those dishes that'll go in my permanent file. So thanks for watching. Also, please do me a favor before we get into this. Go ahead and subscribe. Click that like button if you enjoy the show, and drop a comment down below if you have any questions or if you have any suggestions. I do appreciate reading those. I like them and I read them all. Folks, thank you very much. Let's get into it. Well, hello. Welcome to Texas Cooking. I'm Stuart. Today I'm going to be making a chicken pasta bake. All right, I wanted to do something really super simple. And, well, this is after work. I decided to go ahead and fix myself a homebrew, come in and create something simple. And the funny thing is I wanted a dish that was so easy to make it's unbelievable. I wanted to not dirty up any extra pans or nothing. And I wanted it to be basic and simple. So I kind of thought this through and decided, okay, well, I'm going to put together a pasta and chicken dish that has a beautiful marinara and some cheese going on in it and lots of herbs and spice and just all of the right flavors coming together. And I want to show you how I do that. This is the first time I'm doing it. I'm inventing this dish in front of you, and it's going to come out delicious. Trust me on this one. All right, so this is some chicken and pasta and cheese and some really cool ingredients here. And I've got a simple glass pan, or that's not a pan, that's a baking dish, glass baking dish that I'm going to put it in. This is going to be simple enough, folks. So I think the hardest part on this is cutting up the chicken. And the rest of the only other thing I have to cut is the mozzarella cheese, unless I shred it. I don't know which I'll do, but I'm not going to put much work into it. I'll tell you that right now. So I guess this becomes an easy weeknight meal. Come over, look at the stuff I've got to work with, and then we're going to put this thing together. Come on. So I wanted something, as I mentioned earlier, that would be very trouble-free and easy to do. I'm not going to par cook the pasta. What I'm going to do is adjust the amount of water that this dish needs to accommodate cooking the pasta in full. All right, so we're going to cook the pasta in the dish. The only thing I'm going to dirty up is a cutting board in that one dish. And we're going to be making a marinara sauce using some tomato paste and some seasonings like oregano and basil and garlic and onion. Also, I have a little bit of white wine here. You can use some red wine, whatever you want. Just put some wine in there to give it a little bit of extra acid and a fruitiness. Got some salt, olive oil that I'll be using in this. Of course, our chicken breast. But I also wanted to mention there's other stuff you can put in yours. You could put some marinated artichokes in there. You know, those quartered artichokes. Or just plain quartered artichokes, maybe in water. How about, look at that. That's a beautiful, beautiful vegetable right there. We're going to be using this little guy. Anybody know what that is? That is a shallot right here. Petite diced tomatoes. That would be one way of going. I just wanted to show you that there's other stuff you can put in this other than what I'm doing. If you have some fresh spinach, put a handful of spinach in there. It won't hurt. And if you'll notice, I'm not really going to measure much here. With the exception of this right here, there is some measuring that goes on relative to water and pasta. So as I mentioned, we're going to increase the amount of water in the dish to accommodate cooking our pasta and what cooks out. All right, first thing I want to do is hydrate this a little bit. And I'm just going to use my wine. pour it down in here, mix the two together. That begins what we're going to do. So as you can see, we've got a fairly thick sauce going on here. And I'm going to say this. Once I look at this dish and I start thinking about putting this in here and putting this into it and then adding this to it and then putting this in it, it's going to be full at that point before I even get close to adding my cheese to it. So what I've got to do, I think I dirtied up the wrong dish. I wanted to keep this simple and now I'm having to change dishes. That's okay, that's okay. Live and learn. This is a part of, you know, when we are inventing new dishes. This is what I sometimes run into. Okay, so this isn't hard. I'm just going to get something larger to bake this up in. Okay, it's old, but it's big. It has cooked a lot of meals, and it's about to do another one. So, as I said, sometimes in the process of doing new recipes, I've ran into this. And boy, if I were to put in extra stuff like artichokes and things like that, imagine how quickly it would have overran that. Now, I could have done this in 2 pans about this size, or maybe a little smaller, I guess. But I think just switching to something that's a little deeper and broader may do the trick well. There we go. So I'll just pretend that I didn't dirty up that other pan. Something like that. Now, when I'm doing a sauce like this, I want it to take it to a saucy consistency, which I'm pretty much there. I'm going to add slightly more water. And of course, I didn't start with water. I started with wine. But it's going to add a lot to this dish. There we go. One more. All right. Now what that does is it's going to also help a little bit with some evaporation. We're going to lose some water through that. Now for my spices, let's start with this simple. Basil. Basil's a nice sweet herb, 1 tablespoon. This is my basic marinara recipe, by the way. We're only changing it by a slight degree just by adding in a little bit of onion and garlic powder, which I don't normally put in. 1 teaspoon of oregano. Now when it comes to onion powder, on this, it's not quite as potent as garlic is. I like to go with a little more, so that's about 1.5 teaspoons. Okay? And then garlic powder is usually quite strong, so you want to be respectful of it. 1 teaspoon. Now, I usually use olive oil or something like that when I'm cooking my chicken, and I'll coat my pasta with it when I pre-cook pasta. So I want a little olive oil in this too. It's all a part of my usual flavors. Now this is starting to look really cool, okay? What I'm going to need next is enough water to cook my pasta thoroughly. And I told you, since I'm using 8 ounces of pasta, that I need 1 pound of water, and that's what I just put in right there. Interesting to think of water in terms of pounds, ounces, grams, or whatever, because in the United States we don't normally do that. We use volume measurements on our liquids, and it's just the way Americans do things. So in a little bit, I'm going to put this in there. I'm going to cut this up. I want it in there, and I'm going to cut this up and put it in there, and then we're going to spoon up the cheese and cut that mozzarella. Now, a little bit of salt, about 1/2 teaspoon of salt in there. Okay, there we go. Next thing, cutting up these. That's pretty easy. All right, I think I'm going to get this shallot cut up. As usual, they grow in pairs. I think that's one of the neat things about them. Now that's going to be a nice flavor addition to this very, very simple dish. I've got this big old honking chicken breast here. Now here's the thing. The weight of the chicken breast, I don't know. I mean, that looks like as big as 2 regular average chicken breasts. That thing's huge. But yeah, I would say we're looking at maybe 12 ounces of meat, roughly. Maybe a little heavier. So I wanted to just take this and cut it down into some nice bite-sized pieces. All right. Looks like a good start. Maybe some strips like so. I'm going to separate those. That looks like some nice bite-sized pieces, doesn't it? I'm just going to put this right down here in my sauce. Oh yeah. All right, I'm getting this done. I'm needing to start my oven. Okay, I'm preheating that oven at 350 degrees. Now, it occurred to me that I have something sitting in my cabinet. You know, and this is what I was trying to show y'all, is sometimes as you're on a dish, you can decide just to add something to it. These are sun-dried tomatoes. These are actually my own tomatoes that I grow in my garden that are being put in here for the sole purpose of adding flavor. There we go. Just a couple of small handfuls, but it's concentrated tomato flavor. And it's going to make this dish just that much better. All right, now our pasta and our cheese are the last things to do. I'm just going to go ahead and cut this cheese open. Now I've decided that since this dish is going to be having mozzarella in it, and I didn't want to dirty up anything else, I was just going to knife slice this right there onto a paper towel. We'll use that in that way. The ricotta. Okay, now our pasta, time for it to go in, because we're at that point. The oven's heating. I got to get this mixed together. This is all pretty rudimentary, isn't it? I mean, I was looking for an easy dish to do, and I'm thinking that this is going to be easier than I suspected. Now this, I just want to take it and spoon it up over the top. Okay, there we go, ricotta. Now I think I want to put some mozzarella over the top. And I know it's not going to be perfect. We're just going to lay it in there and let it do its thing. So what do you think? You think this is going to come out okay? You think it's going to be good? You think it'll be scary? What are you thinking right now? I think that what I'm going to pull out of the oven in a little bit is going to be absolutely stunning and totally delicious. I also think I'm going to put the rest of this cheese on there. It's always nice when a dish like this is nice and cheesy on top. So what I'm going to do next, cover it, then we're going to put it in that oven as soon as I get the beep that it's preheated. Alrighty, I've got 350 degrees. This is ready to go. I'm going to cook it for the first part of its cook covered. And then when I put my thermometer inside of it and I see, about 170 or 180 degrees, in that range, I'm going to pull that lid off. We're going to let it brown up on top to finish the cook and also to finish evaporating out any excess water that it might have. That's the goal. We'll see. Here we go. All right. I'm going to look at it in 30 minutes. Okay, it's in the oven. It really didn't take that long to put together, as you can see. There's just a minimal amount of work in preparing this fresh meal. Now, I guess if you think about it, there's a few things that you could do to make this even easier. If you didn't want to use, let's say, tomato paste and your own spices, you could probably just use a jar sauce. That would work fine. And then add enough water to accommodate the pasta. Okay, that would be one way of approaching it. All right, there's, also you could get meat that's already cut up. A lot of times in the grocery stores you find things like that that are already prepared, and you don't have to do the cutting or any of that kind of labor. You just combine things and get them heating. And that's kind of what this is about. Pretty basic and simple way of cooking. Now, I wanted to do this because I wanted to get into an easier way of a weeknight meal, and also to show you that you don't have to pre-cook pasta. You simply have to accommodate for the liquid in the dish. Nothing else to it. Okay, and that goes for any pasta dish. I could be using dry pasta in a lasagna dish. In fact, I might do that pretty soon, using the dry pieces that you get at the store rather than the pasta that I make. See, I normally make a fresh pasta, roll it out, and then just make my lasagnas that way. But it would be fun to do it with the pasta noodles at the store. That way people that are that don't want to make their own pasta can do that. Anyway, I'll shut up. I digress. My apologies. We're going to take a look at this in just a little bit. And in a moment, you're going to see the clip for the ingredients quantities. So thanks for watching up till now. Let's take a look at the rest in a minute. As I mentioned, I wanted to check my temperature 30 minutes in. This will give us some idea of how it's coming along. So we have a total of about 130 degrees in there. This is doing just fine right now. And so I'm going to let it keep doing what it's doing. I'm going to leave it covered for about another 20 minutes. Then I'm going to uncover it, and it's probably going to be in there for, I'm guessing, 40 minutes more. I'm not sure. This is one of those little things where we discover it together. Okay. Taking that lid off. I'm going to let that evaporate and do some browning. I'm looking forward to this. It smells so good. So the quantity of everything that I've used today starts with this right here. This is a pterodactyl, I mean a large chicken breast. And with that we're doing, of course, a small shallot. I have 8 ounces of penne pasta here. Now you can use whatever pasta you want. Bow tie pasta, you could use rigatoni. Just pick one that you like and go with it. To that, I had to compensate. Now to fully cook pasta, pasta will absorb twice its weight in water. So 8 ounces of water equals, or 8 ounces of pasta requires 1 pound of water to hydrate it. So it takes that much water. 2 cups of water is a pound of water, and that's what it takes to actually fully hydrate 8 ounces of penne pasta. All right, and that's just sort of a nice formula for you to always use. The amount of water that's going to cook out of your pan and into the pasta will be twice the weight of the pasta you used. Tomato paste, oregano, basil. On these I used 6 ounces here, and then I used a teaspoon here, tablespoon on the basil, so a teaspoon of oregano, a teaspoon of garlic powder, and a teaspoon and a half of onion powder. On the ricotta, just spoon it over the top as much as you want. I started with a small container of ricotta, which is a total of 15 ounces, and this little block of cheese, which is 8 ounces of mozzarella. I didn't use all of that, as you saw, but most of it. And this, well, let's take a look at the final product of what I've just come up with. All right, let's take a look here. That looks absolutely gorgeous. Now I'm checking for moisture content by simply tilting a little, seeing what builds in that corner. It looks real good. What I think this needs to do is to give it just a few minutes to kind of rest and set up and firm up, basically. So I'm just going to give it a few minutes to do that, and that'll be about 5 minutes. Then I'm going to spoon some of that up. That looks good. That looks just downright scrumptious right there. Let's try this. Oh, that's good. Pasta is perfect. And chicken, good and firm, well cooked. Folks, the flavor, the seasonings, all of it. This is spot on perfect. This is exactly what I was hoping to get out of this dish, and it rewarded me well. I'll tell you what, give this a try. You're absolutely going to fall in love with it. It's too easy to be believed. I'm going to be doing this a whole lot more. Probably several different variations of it. I'm looking forward to experimenting. Folks, thanks for watching. I do appreciate it. If you would, write it down in the description box. You're going to find links to my website, S.A.Trotter.com. That's where you're going to get my recipes. Also, there's some links there to Wildgrain. That's a subscription product for sourdough breads, pastries, and pastas that are incredibly good. Definitely take a look at that. Also, take a look at that Chef's Temp thermometer. That little guy's a jewel, and it works very, very well. So, good price, great thermometer, worth your time. If you would, please subscribe, click the like button, and don't forget to click the bell after you subscribe. That way you get notified when I post. Appreciate you watching, and folks, enjoy your pasta.